You can do it. You can go create. Just get to it. I promise you'll feel great. Because life can get ugly, and art sure can too. What matters is to do it. Let those feelings flow through you.
Welcome back to the Ugly Podcast. It's me, your host, Laura Alexander. They, them. You know how I describe myself every week, so I look the same. You're curly-haired, non-binary. Although this week, I have a new tattoo, which you can't see on the video, but I'm telling you anyway because it's exciting. It's a bat. And then 2, I'm wearing a new I Reject My Mortal Gender t-shirt, which has the non-binary flag and a scary skeleton with lightning on it. And it's delightful. So that's my vibe today. And I've got an excellent guest for you today. My guest is a joy and confidence coach for autistic and ADHD folks. They help high masking people like themselves, especially those late or self-diagnosed, figure out how to work with their brain instead of fighting it, and how to craft a life they love without all of the shame inherited from existing in a neurotypical world. So I'm so excited to speak with you. Welcome. Can you please introduce yourself with your name, your pronouns, and tell us a brief visual description?
Of course, it's me. My name is Kyra. I also use they, them pronouns. I am I think I've done 2 visual descriptions in my life. So this is fun. White, non-binary person with short, wavy brown hair. I'm wearing over-the-ear headphones, and it is a green cardigan, but it's coming off on camera as fairly black, and I've got my office tchotchkes and nerdy shit in the background. That's me. I didn't clarify if we could swear on this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
I assumed.
Swearing is fine. Yeah.
Great. Cool.
Yeah.
That's me.
Yay. Thanks so much for being here. We love nerdy tchotchkes. We were just gabbing about D&D before opening. Having a great time over here after a very hard week.
It's a Monday. It's Monday vibes.
It's Monday vibes after the horror show that was last week, which was election week. We were supposed to record last week, and then we got on, and both of us were just like,
I don't have the right vibes for this.
No.
I could make it up, but it would be very low energy, and I don't know anyone wants a sad low energy podcast, so.
Yeah. Well, and like there's definitely value in that. There's value in people like showing up like in the middle of the grief and like amidst the shit, but like it's also like sometimes we need something else. I don't know. Just and also like as the people doing the talking, like, is that helpful for us, or do we really just need to rest? Like, there's a healthy balance. So I'm glad that we're speaking today.
After resting and sleeping and playing D&D and video games and etc. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah, well, let's just dive into it. We're going to be talking about like creativity and neurodivergence and all that good stuff today. But I'd love to know just about you personally, about your relationship to creativity, kind of the story arc of your creativity. If there was a plot to your relationship with creativity throughout your life, what would that look like?
Yeah, I was thinking about this question ahead of time. Oh boy. We're a year and a little bit extra on testosterone, and the voice cracks are all over the place. So welcome to that source of non-binary joy in this podcast episode today.
Love it.
But I was thinking about this ahead of time, and the first thing that popped up into my brain was the conflict styles in narratives, the like man versus society, man versus, and I was just like, man versus self. It's my creative arc. I was super creative as a child in terms of like creative writing was my outlet. I didn't want to do art because my older sister was an artist and I cannot be the same as her. But I was super into creative writing, and then about the same time that puberty happened, the perfectionism happened, and I got super in my head and stopped creative writing and didn't do anything that made me feel creative for like, I don't know, 5-10 years, however time works. And then in the process of healing that I've done in the last 5 years that's led me to this coaching journey, have re-embraced maybe not the same level of like artistic creativity. I still don't do much creative writing, but recognizing where I have creativity in other areas of my life, in building a business, in being creative with my relationship with myself, with my gender.
Yep.
And the like forms of creativity that people don't talk about as much, that are just like building relationships and being a human in the world and creating a space that you like and thrive in. Yeah, those are
I
words.
Those are words, and you said them beautifully.
Thanks.
I hear so much of just like the similar sentiments. Like I've talked to a lot of people on this podcast over the years, and so many times it's like, yeah, as children, we're just like, yeah, like I'm gonna make whatever, and I don't care what this looks like. Let me scribble it out, and like it's delightful. And then like we hit puberty, we start to like get into that big like comparison mode, and then on top of like maybe having unsupportive adults in our lives, like it just the life is just not life as it is now is just not set up to really encourage that creativity to continue thriving past childhood.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah, we have
sucks.
it's so many lessons. I've watched this in my very ADHD wife. I love her very much. But she'll like pick up a hobby and immediately be like, okay, how can I make money off of this? And it's the same thing for a lot of people of like,
Yeah.
if I'm being creative, then it has to serve capitalism because of gig
Yes.
economy and productivity culture bullshit that we could talk about that soapbox in and of itself for 2 hours straight.
Right.
But like when you reach adulthood, suddenly everything about your life is supposed to be something that you can market and make money off of and produce for other people to serve other people. And it is the worst, and I hate it.
It's terrible.
And terrible
I
for creativity. I don't want to be creative for other people. I want to be creative for things that I like. The end.
Yeah, exactly. I was actually thinking about this just a second ago because I've been trying to I don't even know if I can say I've been trying to. It's been on my radar that I want to be like more involved in the arts community where I live, like in Tacoma. And like I've like done some interviews with like artists here in Tacoma, and so like that's like one way I've been doing it. But then I'm like, I should really like get my art like out in front of people. And then I'm just like, I don't want to. not
Too much
because
work.
and it's not because I don't know. I'm sure there is an aspect of it that there's like fear of putting myself out there. I'm sure that that's in there. I'm sure that's in the mix. But like another part is just like, but that also just adds a level of pressure to my art that I don't really want to have. Like I just like making my art for me.
Yeah.
And I think that's okay and good. Weird.
Yeah. Weird? Who
Weird.
knew? I think that makes sense why people like get all up in their head about like when puberty hits or somewhere along that lines, because it's about the same time that I think don't quote me on this, I don't know the exact science. Now I'm super curious and I'll go down a rabbit hole about it later, but I think that's about the same time that your brain starts to conceptualize that other people are observing you and are like people who exist in the world and are like you're not the only one who exists, sort of a thing.
Yeah.
And
I
so
mean,
the
that would make
like
sense. Yeah.
having that be hand in hand with, oh God, people are watching what I'm doing. Or like I used to trade creative writing with a friend in high school and we were always great and non-judgmental, but still the act of being perceived was not the
Yeah.
best for my very perfectionist little brain.
Yeah, being perceived is a no bueno over here. I
Just like
hate being
in general.
perceived. No thanks.
Oh, talk about a neurodivergent vibe.
Yeah. Speaking of neurodivergence, um, how does neurodivergence impact creativity?
So
Let's
many
talk about it.
ways. So many ways. So the people that I serve are mostly autistic and ADHD, some fun combination thereof. And of course, there's always trauma in there because of the world we live in.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I feel like like the neurodivergence of being autistic and not realizing it is a different, you, words are hard. Autistic people inherit a different messages than ADHD people do about creativity, about themselves, of course. And then if you got the combination, then you just get all the messages. You're welcome. Good luck. But the conversation that I have over and over with autistic clients is the like, I'm not creative. I just don't have creativity. My brain doesn't work that way. The creative part of my practice, especially, is that we do a lot of like, for folks for who it works, because I like shift what I'm doing to fit people's brains, obviously. But we play a lot with emotional visualization, which is really creative, like a creative thing of imagining your emotions as an energy in your body of has
Mm-hmm.
color, it has texture, it has temperature, and gives your brain a concrete way to process an emotion and get curious and sit with it rather than resisting it and getting all caught up in the mental stories about it. So we sit down to do this, and every autistic client I've ever had is like, I don't know what emotions look like. And then I'm like, okay, let's dig into it a little bit more. And they always have this very clear, very specific picture of like, it lives in between my shoulder blades and it's like effervescent golden bubbles. And I'm like, bullshit, you're not creative. A not creative
I don't know
person
how to
wouldn't
do
come
this.
up with
Okay,
that.
listen. It's pink. It has this texture. It's the color of a sunrise on April 4th. Like,
But we learn all these lessons of like, especially if your brain is different, that this isn't the way I'm supposed to be creative. This isn't the way I'm supposed to experience emotions. I'm supposed to know what it feels like in these 5 color words or whatever.
yeah.
So the autistic experience is more like my creativity looks different than I was taught it was allowed to look like. It might look more structured. I might like organizing my colors in a very, like maybe I just like doing geometric rainbows and I don't want to scribble all over the page.
Yeah.
But I'm still creative and I like releasing that expectation of what other people expected my creativity to look like is the character arc for the autistic brain. And then I think the ADHD brain doesn't absorb as many lessons about not being creative because ADHD brains do, in my experience, they look like they're centered more towards artistic pursuits. I have a lot more friends who pick up artistic hobbies that have ADHD, but they have a lot more inherited lessons about like judging themselves for not completing things. Of
Yeah.
course. So
Right.
like I'll like draw for 6 months, but then I'll get distracted by cross stitching, and then I'll get distracted by creative writing, and then I'll get distracted by leatherworking as my wife's newest hobby that she bought all the things for and has since not touched in the last month. You know. So then their
Yep.
perfectionism shows up in a different way of like, I can make a thing, but I'm also constantly going to be judging myself for the 10 other things sitting on my shelf back there that I was supposed to
Mm-hmm.
make 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And then that gets in the way of creativity because of all the things that I should finish and never did.
Mm-hmm.
That was
I
a
feel
lot
like
of words. I have so many thoughts about
no,
it.
this is excellent. I feel like capitalism also plays into that story of like, well, if I can't finish something, that means that it's not like a continuous thing. That means it's not like a job. It's not worth my time. If again, it's not monetizable. It's not something that I can make a
Yeah,
brand off of or make that my thing. It's just like,
totally.
have you heard the term multi-potentialite?
No, this is a new term for me. Tell me more.
Oh, it's an excellent term, especially for like ADHD folks. But it's just like this idea of like you have so many different interests and like in lots of broad categories that don't necessarily line up, and like you can pursue all of those like fun things that you want to explore, and like it doesn't it doesn't mean that you like I don't know, aren't doing life right because you haven't picked one life path and chosen one single like thing to be your identity.
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
yeah,
Amazing.
it's
This
great.
is very classic. Yes, that is the ADHD experience.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you get a lot of lessons about how you're not good enough because you can't commit to a thing.
Yes, exactly. Boo. Boo, we hate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love what you're talking about with the like depicting emotions. That's one of my favorite things to do for my own
Yeah.
practice is like make little pictures of my feelings on any given
it's so
day.
good.
And it's just it's so fun. And it's one of my favorite practices to just envision what my emotions look like. And there's a lot of good, I mean, I could talk about that practice for a very long time, but especially that idea of like what is creativity and like creativity being a time where you touch base with how you're feeling and giving it
Yeah.
a name or giving it a color and all this stuff. It's that in itself is a creative practice, whether or not you actually draw it on the page or whatever, or try to
Totally.
depict it. Just that thought experiment and that playfulness and checking in with yourself is a creative act.
Yeah, it's super helpful. I was thinking about that a lot in the context of the work that I do, which is not classically creative. I'm not an art therapist. It's not the talk about black and white autistic brains and definitions about what it means to be creative is I put art on paper. Um, but the act of just exploring myself and getting curious about how my brain works and like describing my emotions as they exist to me and also playing with all of the tools that I have in my sandbox of is emotional visualization the tool that's going to work for me today? Do I just need to touch dirt? Do I need to do some mindset work? Do I need to go like use accountability and mirroring with a friend? All of those tools are its own form of creativity around like being creative in my relationship with myself and how I connect to myself and understand my own brain. And like without the courage to do all of that imperfectly as well, a lot of people can like start all of this self-care work and then they get 2 months in and they're like, oh my God, I haven't used all of my tools and I've forgotten 10 of the 12 tools that I've learned and it's all doomed and I just give up because I'm broken forever. I'm like, no, this is like we're experimenting, we're playing with what works and
Mhm.
it'll be different every day.
Yeah. And that's so important to remember, especially when you're neurodivergent. The whole like getting things right is
Yeah.
like a real big hang up. Like for
It's a
me, getting things
lie.
right is just like,
Yeah.
like I have to get it right,
I tend to find that
including
I
self care.
always, yeah, I tend to spend like the first month with a new client giving them some tools for self care. We play with a new one every week. And then about a month in, they're like, I don't remember all of the tools and I'm stressed because I'm supposed to be doing all the things. And I'm like, wait, pause, hold on. The tools that are important to you will come back.
Yeah.
You're ADHD. I'm not going to expect you to remember all these tools and practice all of them perfectly. That's just setting yourself up for more failure and more self judgment.
Hmm.
Trust your intuition the same way you would if you were drawing your emotions on a page. And pick the tools that work for you and explore.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we made our way to this idea of perfectionism, having to
Hey.
get things exactly right. Uh, our friend, our enemy.
Complicated relationship
Complicated
with
relationship with
perfection.
perfectionism. Yeah,
Perfection doesn't exist.
it does not.
The end. Hard stop. But your brain would really like it to
Yeah.
exist because
At
then
least
everything would
like
be sunshine and rainbows forever.
exactly. At least like the definition as we use it today of like perfection as in having zero errors,
Yeah,
um that does not exist.
true.
Maybe errors isn't the right word.
Flaws.
Flaws, yeah. No mistakes, no flaws. That kind of perfect doesn't exist. But my favorite definition of perfection being like complete or
Mm.
finished.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, things can be complete and finished. All the time, things are complete and finished.
Ooh.
But we don't use it this way. And that's the problem.
This also brings up so many thoughts for me about like what does it mean for something to be complete and finished?
Hmm.
And if we're in the perfectionism mindset that like look at my art and it looks complete or finished, but like also I could add 5 more details.
You could. I mean, you can always add more things. Like, and that's the thing too, is like it could always be different. It could
Yeah.
always be it could be, you know, quote unquote better. It could be quote unquote worse. But like if you've decided like, you know what, I'm finished with this. This is done. It's perfect.
Yeah.
I really love that. Although like it's kind of hard to just like change how we think of a word, but
Oh, I do it all the time.
I really like
Big part of our practice. It's a lot of work,
it
but
is hard, yeah.
to build up neuroplasticity and stuff like that for
Yeah.
that kind of work, but it's super
Exactly.
helpful. We like redefine words in my practice all the time for like, okay, what does it mean to be in a healthy relationship? Or okay, you're holding yourself to standards that you set up for yourself. What if we just redefine those standards? What if we just make it up? You made it up in the first place. Let's just make it up again, but different.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, I have the concept of being complete and finished. I imagine is like a little bit as a little baby trigger for some ADHD brains because like what if I didn't finish it? And to those brains, if they're listening, hello, I see you. I would say, who says that's not finished? Who says incomplete isn't also finished?
Right.
What if that just is your finished?
Yeah. And it can also be finished for now if you want.
Yeah. You are finished with it currently.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a conversation with my sister who is also ADHD. I don't know, last month, 6 months ago, 2 years, what is time? About how she had finally released herself from the expectation that she's supposed to finish a book or she's supposed to finish a video game. And now, like, we're just going to play the video game until I'm done with it. And then we're done. And I'm not going to judge myself for not having quote unquote finished it.
Yeah.
I got bored of that last 10% of resolution after the climax, so I didn't bother. The end.
Yeah. I stopped finishing most books, to be frank. Although I feel like, I mean, a lot of that has to do with me being an editor and reading books is my job. I mean, it's obviously
Fair.
more than just reading, but like I'm looking at books every day. And so it's really hard to just read books in my free time. So unless a book is like really sticking with me, I don't finish it.
That's fair.
I've just embraced that part of my life is gone. Finishing books is for past lore, not for future lore.
Yeah, absolutely valid.
Yeah.
Especially if you got to do it for a living.
Yeah, that's true. So then what does imperfection look like for your creativity?
Yeah, so many things. In my personal life, my biggest focus on imperfection right now has been in my business itself. I've been building up this business for almost 2 years now. I started doing it very part-time while I was still working in biotech as a lab sciencey person. And one of the best business advice things that I heard repeatedly starting from very early on was if you wait for it to be perfect, it will never be released. And a lot of the life coaching circles talk about like creating content regularly. And so I've played with a blog, I've played with TikTok. None of them have stuck yet. So we're just exploring with other things. But in all of that, making my website, in starting a TikTok, in starting social media, in playing with all the different things that I could do, if I had waited for any of those things to be perfect, if I had tried to make any of those things perfect, I would literally never have started my business. In fact, I was thinking about starting my business, and the only way that it happened was when I mentioned it to my physical therapist, and she got all excited, and she texted me the next day and was like, I have a client for you. What's your pitch? And I was like, well, I don't have time to get it perfect, so here we go.
Oh my God, I love it.
Oh God. I guess I'm doing the thing. So like I was coaching for a solid 3 or 4 months before I even had a business license. Like we did not do any of this perfectly, and I'm still making money and people are still paying me and we're still doing great. And I was not certified. I just now got the final of my 4 very like small, low effort online certifications, but still I'm finally certified as a master coach as of 2 hours ago.
Ooh, congratulations.
But yeah, so that exercise of building a business has to be imperfect, because if you're doing and the same is true for any career. If you're waiting for it to be perfect, you will never do anything.
Yeah.
I was also showing up in D&D last night of like, how can I be imperfect in my role play? Because I'm never going to have the perfect thing to say or the perfect plan. We sat a couple weeks ago, we tried to like plan the perfect ambush, and we sat there for 45 minutes trying to plan the perfect ambush, and it fell apart in just 5 seconds.
It always falls apart immediately. We're like, why
Someone
did
cast
I?
magic without checking with the party first, and then there was a magic sensing goblin that was like, fuck you.
Yeah.
It was a mess. But yeah, I think imperfection is a practice sort of everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And this is sort of getting into a future question that was on the list, but the practice of imperfection in all of your life is also a practice of trusting yourself and of
Mm-hmm.
being okay with you being imperfect, because you are. You're a human. You have a human brain. You're never going to be perfect at everything. You're always going to fuck up. And so the more I can be imperfect in creative pursuits, in starting a bullet journal and then ruining the first page intentionally to trick my brain into thinking that I don't need it to be perfect, the better I get at also giving myself grace when I'm just a human who says a dumb thing or hurts someone's feelings or doesn't meet the goal that I wanted to meet. All of that, like, imperfection work is tied together.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I had the same experience starting my business, which is how I ended up like going down this path of like ugly art and like ugly podcasts and ugly writing and whatever else, make it terrible. Because like I started my business and then I was like, oh God, I have to like say stuff on social media and I have to email people and I have to make a website that can't have any typos on it because I'm advertising editing services. So I have to be absolutely perfect, which
all of my spacing must be excellent, despite the fact that all of the website editors are also a little bit janky.
Yeah, like everything has to be completely aligned, which like this actually happened to me once because I went and like changed some things. I was like like doing some new copy editing on my website, or copywriting rather, and I like added it like I added a typo that like I didn't check thoroughly enough, and there was a typo on my website, and then a client a potential client was like, is this typo on your website supposed to be there? I was just like mortified. But because I had like done so much work on practicing imperfection, on like doing like mindfulness exercises of just like trying to train and teach my body that it is safe to make mistakes and that like I am not going to be cast out from society and eaten by bears if I make a mistake. That's not going to happen. So it's okay. And so I was able to respond to that message and just kind of make a joke out of it. I'm like, even editors need editors. Like, we're all human beings. Like, it's whatever. And then she never responded. I'm like, okay, bye. But whatever. Like, that experience did not break me. And like did not make me say like, oh no, this terrible thing happened and now I can't be an editor anymore. It's like, no, of course not. Like, a mistake happened, I fixed it. She's never gonna call me, but that's okay. Like, there's other people. I don't know. It's literally all right. It really does train your body and your mind, just like love and accept yourself a lot more for all of your messiness, for all of your imperfection.
Totally.
Creativity is a really good place to like practice that.
I think creativity, like, it feels like a safer place to practice because, one, it's not, other people don't have to see it. I don't have to mess up an interaction with another human and then worry about what they think about me. I can just mess up in a page that I never show anyone ever. And especially for autistic and ADHD brains, having something concrete that you're producing is also a super helpful, and all human brains, but especially neurodivergent brains, having something concrete and physical that you can work through rather than just thinking about your brain. One, activates more centers of your brain. Two, for ADHD folks, like it, like just things that aren't concrete don't sink into your memory. Like there's a bunch of science about short-term memory in ADHD and long-term memory in ADHD, and there's trauma that also messes with memory formation. So having something that's physical and concrete makes the thing more functional in your brain, and also is helpful for autistic brains to catch onto, of like concrete things feel more satisfying than squidgy things that might happen in your brain. So
Fascinating.
yeah,
That's really interesting.
it's a bunch of brain science that I'm not great at explaining and only
No,
barely know.
I think you did great. My brain is just because, like, I don't know. I just kind of stumbled into this
Mm-hmm.
method of intentionally making bad things in order to foster this like change in myself. And I just kind of
Yeah,
stumbled into it and was like, this is fun and I'm having a good time and it's making me feel like interested and curious and like it's opening up a lot of things for me. I'm going to
totally.
keep exploring this and then I'm just like everybody should do this. But like I just kind of stumbled into doing this like by happenstance and then every once in a while I'll learn like a piece of brain science or just like things that are just like, "Oh, that makes sense." Like the concrete experience to apply to this idea that's very abstract of
Yeah,
safety in imperfection. It's like, what does that mean? I don't know what that means. I don't know what that feels like in my body,
right.
but actually doing something concrete can help you feel that in a more concrete way and help you learn that
Mm-hmm.
lesson to then apply it going forward instead of just, when you read a self-help book and you're like, oh my gosh, this book is life-changing. I love everything
Right.
that they're talking
So
about.
many thoughts. They're so smart. And then you close the book and you're like, I remember none of it.
No,
It's
you
all
never
gone.
think of it again. Just like, nope, okay, that was a nice thought experiment. Like, guess it's gone now. Like, never gonna think about that again.
Yeah. There's also something in, I think, in having something concrete in front of you, especially with like art and something that's in physical space. And I think this is the same reason why like journaling and writing things down on paper works better for my brain to help me remember it than typing it, because typing it is only barely physical space.
Yeah.
That it gets you, I think, out of your head and into your body. So it's even its own form of like grounding your nervous system in physical space. Like literally color touch paper. I have to be in physical space to be aware of the paper and the pencil in front of me. And I cannot be like as much, at least, lost in my thoughts and my own drama,
Yeah.
because I'm more grounded in my body and my in physical space without having to actually be aware of my body, for folks for whom that feels deeply unsafe.
Yeah.
uh yeah,
So true.
brains are so weird. Neuroscience is wild, and we only barely know what we're talking about.
It's true.
I
At
think
least
I was talking to a friend about that as well while I was thinking about creativity the other day, that when I was thinking about creativity in my practice, in the like mindset and self-care and processing emotions work, and I was like, it's all an experiment. And then I was like, how does that reconcile with how we were taught that science experiments are like the antithesis of art, and the like right brain versus left brain thing that was supposed to be science for a long time? And fun fact is a lie. Your brain doesn't work like that.
Mhm.
All of your brain is working together all the time. You don't have a logical and a creative side of your brain. It's all just your brain. That we think that the like experiments and the logical are the opposite of creativity. And then in my like 5+ years in the sciences, where I'm supposed to have all of this knowledge, like the more you get into a science degree, the more you're like, oh, we absolutely know nothing, and all of this is made up. The amount of times in a lab that like I was doing manufacturing, all of this science was like deeply researched and we knew what was happening. And then I would hold up a plate and I'd be like, why is there white stuff in it? And be like, I don't know, it's a mystery. We should probably remake it. It might be contaminated. Nobody knows. The amount of times that
Something
scientists
happened.
are just like, it's magic. I don't know. If
Something
the
happened.
scientists
We
don't
know
know what's
not what.
happening in the world, we're it's nothing is static. We're all making it up as we go.
Yeah. Well, and like, yeah, just the I don't know if this is a coherent thought. It might not be.
Embrace imperfection. It's fine. Make
Well,
words
now it's
anyway.
kind of running away from me, so now I'm like, wait, what was I even thinking? It's kind of gone now. I don't know.
Okay, something about science.
Something about science, something about creativity and science not being compatible. Oh, I was gonna mention, like, aren't they now lumped together in like STEM? It's not just
STEAM.
it's
It's
STEAM
not just
now.
STEM, it's now STEAM.
Yeah, so
Which
it's like
is also, what are we leaving out? History and language arts? Because language arts is
yeah.
also arts.
Yeah, I don't
I should
I guess
call
I
up my
don't
mom who used to be a teacher and be like, okay, so there's STEAM, but like what's the rest of it? Because I feel like STEAM is everything.
wait, what does it sound? Science, tech,
Science, technology, engineering, art, and
engineering,
math.
art, and math.
And if we're thinking about school subjects, like, yeah, the only thing that might not fit into that is the like history, social studies. But that's
Yeah.
a form of science also. Like anthropology is a science.
Right. Well, now I'm just confused.
I'm gonna call my mom after this call and be like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
But
fascinating. Anyway,
yeah.
do you want to make some ugly art with me?
Yeah, I want to make some ugly art with you.
Cool.
Let me get paper.
Yeah, get some paper.
Oh, oh god. Oh, I have a like full on sketchbook in here. Let's do that instead.
Oh, nice.
This reminds me of the super ugly art that I did 2 years ago. I got a book. I think it's called You're Not an Artist. It was made by John Green's wife, who has an
Okay.
art degree and I think worked in a museum for a long time. I don't know. It's by Sarah Urist Green, and there's a bunch of like prompts for making just bad art. The
Nice.
prompt that I have still tucked in here is use, I think, a random household item or a food item to make art. So I made dip art with asparagus and garlic cloves.
I love it.
And I forgot about this, and I love it a lot.
Oh, that's so
There's
good.
also just a green one. It's like a forest, sorta.
Yeah. I love it. Fun textures.
Amazing.
Yeah, I think my favorite thing to do with this, if you would like, first off, I will ask, would you like a prompt or would you like to just go?
Yeah, I'll take a prompt.
Okay.
Why not?
My favorite thing to do is to let your hand be your guide to just do a scribble. So whatever your
Amazing.
hand wants to do, put a scribble on, and then we'll spend the next 5 minutes or so while we're chatting to just kind of add to that and challenge yourself, like keep asking yourself, how could I make this weirder?
Amazing.
And then go.
I like it.
uh,
Intentionally not color in lines. Fuck the lines. Fuck them.
we don't need lines. We don't need stupid lines.
I also have only very bright colored pens and markers and things, so it's going to be a very vibrant art.
Perfect. All right, this has turned into some kind of two-headed something. It's fun.
Amazing. I'm going for some sort of abstract clump of amoebas, I think.
Ooh.
Is what's happening.
What is like one of your I did have a question earlier that I was going to ask you about specifically like when you're with like autistic or ADHD, which is neurodivergent at large. What do you think about like, I don't know, I guess redefining, we were talking about like how creativity doesn't have to be like what you put on a page. Like how would you help people kind of redefine what they view as creative, like as creative in their life?
That's a good question. The first question that popped into my head was just starting from what lights you up? What gives you passion? What gives you joy? What gives you feeling alive or present in your space, just like enjoying the world. And if it's just like going outside and taking a walk, okay, like maybe we get creative about where we're walking next. Maybe I like set myself some sort of weird creative goal next time I go out on a hike. I'm reminded of the activity that some parents do with their kids where they like make a rainbow board or something and then you go on a walk and you try to find something of every color.
Yeah. I
Uh,
I tried this thing, and then a friend of mine sent me a post that was like recommending the same thing, which I was like, oh, that's fun. But I decided to start like following a color. Like I was just walking around my neighborhood, and I decided like anytime I see the color purple, I'm just gonna like turn and like go in that direction. And then I would
Ooh.
just kind of like follow the purple around my neighborhood, and like it was a fun like creative way to take a walk. I just
Yeah.
ended
Right.
up somewhere different, and I was like, oh, never been here before.
That's so good. Um Yeah. I think there's also like a big part of my work is we talked about the emotional visualization, which is a big part of it, but the other big part of it, especially for more like logic-y brained, less emotionally driven, tends to be more often for autistic folks kind of a thing, is that we do a lot of mindset work as well. So like what are your thoughts about creativity? When is the last time you were creative? Like what are the thoughts that are getting in your way?
Mm-hmm.
And then usually part of the practice is we're going to dig 5 levels deeper because your lizard brain, your emotional brain is avoiding the actual root cause, which is usually, my mom said when I was 5 that my art wasn't good enough. And I just carried that with me for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
Um, and then once we get to the core of that thought, like you can take all of the action in the world, but if your thoughts are still stuck in those old patterns, the action's going to be hard as fuck, but also is usually not going to give you the results that you want because you're showing up in a way that's not like in line with your goals, basically. So once you find that core thought, then we got to work on changing it, but you got to work on changing it really, really slowly because your brain does not like to change core thoughts. They're core for a
Mm-hmm.
reason. They're very protective. So the like, what is my thought about creativity? It has to be perfect. I can't jump straight from there to I can be imperfect all of the time and everyone will love me forever. Your brain's going to call bullshit. It's like you don't believe that.
Yeah, yeah.
No.
Yeah, you need like a step
Um,
ladder thought. Like, what's the next
yeah,
baby step? Yeah.
that's definitely my mentor called them ladder thoughts. And then I was like, now we've got hierarchy. And if I jump back a rung on the ladder, then I'm going to
Oh,
judge myself for not jumping back a rung.
that's a
So
really, yeah, excellent observation.
I had a client come up with a term, I think, or we brainstormed it together in session or something. But now we call them lily pad thoughts, which I love
Cute. I
because like
really love
sometimes
that.
the lily pad's just gonna sink or it's gonna float down the stream and you're gonna have to jump back to the last lily pad or like this
Yeah.
one moved and now it's help. This is just the lily pad that I'm on right now, and I can
I
hop
love
around and I can
that.
do whatever I want. And like eventually I want to get to the other shore of the stream, but all of this is movable and I'm not sure exactly when or how I'm gonna get there. But this is
Yes.
the one that's accessible and it's the one that I can believe right now. So I'll stick with that for now,
Yeah.
you know?
That's so good. I love that. I love lily pad thoughts. That's time for our ugly art, by the way.
Oh no, I have so much more to do. Okay, hold on. It's just color in the middle. It's looking very empty. And then eeny meeny money mo. Little heart. Okay, I did it.
Perfect. Let's see it.
This is a very big page. This
Eee,
is my ugly
perfect.
heart.
Oh, it's
And I
so
love it a lot.
scribbly and Van Gogh-y.
Yeah.
Here's mine.
Is it it looks like a snail dragon. It's a
It's
little
a
blurry.
yeah, it did indeed turn into a snail dragon, kind of stepping in a puddle that also has a mouth for some reason. I
Amazing.
don't
Yes.
know.
Sold.
Yeah.
The puddle is also a face.
Yeah, the puddle turned into a face. If you wanna send me a picture of yours, I like to share them, on Instagram when I
Absolutely.
post the episode, so if you're listening and you're like, "I wanna see what you made," you can go, to my Instagram and check it out. That'll be there for you. But,
So good.
Lovely. Thanks for making stuff with me.
Yeah.
And sharing about lily pad thoughts.
So much fun.
Uh,
Yeah. It's like
bef-
anti-affirmation culture.
yes.
We
Yeah.
don't love, like, okay, people get angry about me if I say that affirmations don't work. They do work if you
Mhm.
craft them carefully as thoughts that you believe, or if you're really into brute forcing it. But it's the like, what thought do I believe, not the
Mhm.
jump straight to the positive thought that I wish I believed one day.
Yeah. Do you have like an example of a lily pad thought for like
I have a whole
I can
ladder right
make
here.
imperfect things and
Actually,
not be a total poo poo head?
yeah. Here we go. I want to feel the accomplishment of forward movement. Literally a lily pad for my thought right now. I am learning. We have weasel words in our lily pads a lot of like, I can't believe that I am good at showing up in my business yet, but I can believe that I am learning how to show up in my creativity or
Yeah.
business or whatever. It's possible that I can learn how to be creative. It's possible that I can learn to accept imperfection. It's possible. What if
Mhm.
I deserve love no matter what? Maybe, perhaps, sometimes. It's my
Ah!
favorite lily pad. It's just like, maybe
Maybe.
if you ask it as a question, sometimes your brain will operate as a fetch quest and run away with it.
Yeah.
Pro tips.
Love those. Thanks so much for sharing.
It's
We're
my
about
favorite.
wrapping up on time, but I want to give you an opportunity to say what you have going on,
Say
anything
what?
that people can support you or come hang out with you, or all those good things. I'll have your website and social medias in the show notes for people, but you can
Amazing.
speak them here, but you don't have to like spell them out or anything. Anyway, go
Sure.
ahead. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
All of the spelling and stuff. Great. Yes. Understood. Yes. My website is joyfuldivergence.com. The name of my business is Joyful Divergence, and I love it a lot. And that links to all my social medias and stuff as well. The next thing that this is my impetus to actually get it done and on the books is that I'm going to be starting, I believe it will be weekly, but double check the info because I may have changed my mind by the time this episode comes out. But I'm going to be starting to do co-working sessions where you can bring whatever you want to work on, whether it's your ugly art, whether it's the like dishes that have been piling up in your sink, whether it's a work project. And we're just going to like hang out and use that body doubling space, and there will be an optional pause in the middle to process whatever is getting you stuck, whether that's a mindset or whether that's processing breaking down the next step of the task. And just building that community of being imperfect with other people and still getting things done and getting through the executive dysfunction sticking points. So there will be a new page on my website, / co-working, that will give you more information on how to join the fun. And if you want to work on all the mindset and the emotional stuff and figure out how to be authentically ADHD or autistic in a world that's not designed for you, I am still open for coaching sessions in whatever pay what you can price point that works for you, which is huge. Yeah, come hang out with me. I think that's it. Is that it? Yeah, that's it for now.
For now. Dun-dun.
Yeah.
Sweet. Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. And everybody go check out Kyra and make something ugly. Be yourself. Be imperfect always. No, I don't know. Do you. Okay.
Yeah,
Keep it
you
ugly.
did
Bye.
great. Good work.
The Ugly Podcast is created by me, Laura Alexander of Scribe and Sunshine. It's produced and sort of edited also by me and written and directed by absolutely no one. Our theme song was written and produced by the amazing Zoe Tronic. If you like the podcast, be sure to rate and leave a review on your preferred platform and share with the creative people in your life. If you're interested in learning more about what I do, head to scribeandsunshine.com to learn more about my ugly art workshops and my editing services. If you haven't yet today, I dare you to make that thing you've been thinking about making but have been too scared it's gonna be terrible. Make it terrible. And as always, keep it ugly.
You can do it. You can go create. Just get to it. I promise you'll feel great.